Welcome back to the Djellab channel, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, I'm not in the normal space today and I've got a few people joining me. We're doing the top 6, it's back. The new season has kicked off, so I thought we've got to bring more content to your screens. Without further ado, let's see who's on the video. Starting towards my left, JCC, Jonathan, Fulham fan.
Yes, sir.
The man who hates Brentford.
Well, no, it's a bus stop. You can't hate a bus stop.
Well, welcome to the side. Welcome
Thank you,
to
Zach.
the show. Ciaran Carlin, you're back again.
Oh, yeah.
My trustee, Ciaran. Clapping wasn't a thing, but it's becoming. Doogie Critchley, we're back on a video again.
I know, it's been a while.
It's been a while, it has. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much for having me on.
Nicely done.
We started this clapping.
Okay, yeah, we've got to finish it.
Just do it with
On
him.
my right, another former Football Daily member, Sonny Snelling. Wearing Ange Postecoglou merch. Hope the money goes directly to him. How you doing?
I'm good, and I think I'm going to do well today because I'm the love child of TalkSport and Football Daily, so...
Arguably the most hated organisations in sport. Ben, welcome my friend, how you doing?
Good, thanks, mate. I forgot my Big Ange t-shirt though.
Good, because that's already getting minus points for him. And last, but definitely not least, Liban, SDS member. How are we doing, my friends?
I'm good. Came to cause problems today. Yeah, there's problems today, so...
There we have it. There we have it. Okay, without further ado, let's get on with the first question. For those of you at home who don't know how this works, basically we'll have several rounds going on. At the end of each round, I'll be awarding points based on the guys' discussions and how well they've argued their point against the others. At the end of each round, it's based on the most accumulative points on who goes through. If you're at the bottom of the table, you're kicked off the show. Okay, guys, the first question we're going to be debating here, what is the hardest position on the pitch? Slightly different this, not about a player, not about a league or a manager, football in general. What's the hardest position?
There is quite a lot of pressure on the spelling, and I do know how to spell all these words, but I'm there like left back.
I think it's worth noting as well the difference in boards here. I may have forgot some of the boards at home, and luckily they had.
I don't know how I'm going to try. I'm trying to hide it just like.
All right, 3, 2, 1, reveal your boards. We've got goalkeeper, goalkeeper, goalkeeper. 3 goalkeepers. We've got fullback, defensive midfield 6, and central midfielder. So Ben and Doogie, maybe a little bit of collaboration here. The only one who's gone by himself, really, fullback, Liban.
Yeah.
Start us off. Why fullback?
I feel like modern day fullback now, you're required to go up quite a lot. You're required to push up, create, defend, sometimes come into midfield as well. And also the fact that nowadays you need to have the ability also to constantly create chances. You're like another outlet now in the team, so I'll probably say fullback.
Okay, Sonny, you got goalkeeper. A couple of you've got goalkeeper as well. Why have you gone for it?
I just think if you make a mistake as a goalkeeper, it usually results in a goal. I think I like Ciaran's argument as well, Pep's goalkeeper, because every goalkeeper now has got to be good with their feet, and that's sometimes more over shot stopping. I see that argued all the time. And also, not many people want to be a goalkeeper growing up. So, you know, it's usually the fat kid, which was me when I was younger. So, and I never liked going to
Doesn't
goal.
that mean that there's less people competing for those slots, technically, if there's less people wanting to be goalkeepers, so you don't have to be as talented?
The problem with that theory is like, say with Liban's theory of left back, right? You can be left back and not fancied at a club, go to another club, but like goalkeeper, it happens all the time where, say like with Joe Hart's career, he's top at Manchester City, Pep comes in, decides he's not that, and his career just falls. Ramsdale, same thing at Arsenal. You can go as a fullback to another club and get a career, but it seems like at a top club, if you're a goalkeeper, someone doesn't fancy you, you rarely land at another club.
It's the ultimate confidence position.
Yeah.
And you also got to be a bit nutty. Like I've seen Doogie take a ball to the face, and
You
it's
definitely got to be a
it's
bit weird,
Yeah.
but I don't think that necessarily means you're the most talented. Like, look at when you play at school, for example, at any level really, I think the best players always play in the middle of the park. They play in midfield. You can get away with being quite an average fullback at lower levels. I'm not agreeing with that at professional levels. Goalkeepers is obviously quite unique, but I think the most technical players, the players that are best on the ball, the best footballers play in central midfield.
Yeah, you can have a bad game in DM, you can't have a bad game in goal.
I think you can go missing in midfield. You can't go missing in goal.
Oh God, if your midfield's missing though, it's going to be pretty obvious.
No,
and
but
the
you can
goalkeeper's gonna be a
if
lot
the other
more obvious.
guy is good, then you're all right.
But ultimately, goalkeepers, they're meant to just keep the ball out.
Yeah.
Like, you're meant to just
You've got
save
one
shots.
job.
You got one job. Whereas I feel
But
like
it's changed though, isn't it? Like
with
you've
this
got to
other
be good with your
position,
feet, pass
yeah.
out from the back.
that's I think that
Everything's in front of you.
Yeah,
Everything's
that's
in
it.
front
Not
of you.
every goalkeeper has to do that. I
I
think
say
it
even
depends
at
on the
lower
team.
league though, like we're saying full-backs at lower league don't have to be that, but a goalkeeper now at lower league has got to be competent enough to play it out.
I think on the ball though, the difference is if you're in a central midfielder or playing as that number 6, a bit more of a DM, everything's happening around you. You have to be so aware of everything that's going on the pitch. Whereas if you're a goalkeeper, playing out from the back, everything's in front of you.
You've gone defensive midfield 6 in quotation
Yeah.
marks. Why that?
I think just I think Rodri has made this look incredibly easy when it's actually the hardest because, like I said, you've got everything going on around you. You have to be constantly scanning. You have to be so good on the ball, so technical. Like Doogie said, all of the best players, whether you're a young age, kind of play in midfield because there's so much responsibility on you. Everything flows through you. Like we've seen it at Tottenham with someone like Basuma, so important to the way our team. And if you're off it like that, the whole team suffers. And I think again, Rodri's level of consistency over the last year, 2 years or so has made that position look a lot easier than it actually is, I think.
You also look at some players that thrived in other positions. Look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, probably on the ball, one of the best fullbacks in Premier League history. Plays for England in midfield in the Euros, and yes, England as a team was struggling, but he looked fairly average in there. I think the differences of playing in different positions, where in midfield you have to have 360-degree vision, compared to having everything in front of you as a fullback or as a goalkeeper, is completely different.
Yeah.
I think though the fullback's the position I feel like is involved the most in football. Because if you look at now, like for me anyway, Gary Neville I would say is one of the greatest right backs, right? But I find it hard to see how he would cope in today's football. So I feel like the fullback's position changed so much now. I think you're required to do so many different roles for that position. It's why I would say it's the hardest. I feel like I hear what they're saying with the goalkeeper one, but I feel like ultimately it comes down to the team and the style of football the team plays. A goalkeeper, essentially, their job is keep the ball out of the net.
But a good goalkeeper can take a team to the next level. Like
Yeah, true.
Like
no, I
Leno.
agree.
but so does a
I
good
agree.
DM.
I
That's
agree.
why
But
they're
then
the
you
most
have so many
expensive
different
players on the
types of
market.
goalkeepers. You've got the All Blacks, and then you've got the Edisons, and then you've got the Hayers. So I feel like you can't be a good goalkeeper if you're not able to at least save shots first and foremost. All the other stuff are like extras. So if you're able to pass the ball from the back, that's all a bonus. But ultimately, you need to be able to stop the ball coming out of the net.
Yeah.
Going into the net. Sorry.
Every team, no matter how they play, needs a good defensive midfielder. And I kind of back it with the fullback argument. Although I think the fullback one is hard because I think that position has changed a bit because of the profile of players that are actually coming through and players maybe not being suited to and also the way that the game's changed and the way managers' styles have changed over the years. But I think you're right. I think first and foremost, as a goalkeeper, your primary responsibility is to keep the ball out the back of the net, and everything else comes second. Then after that,
Okay, we'll call it there, and we'll give out some points and see who can make it through to the next round. I think you all argued really, really well. I'm going to give 6 points to Doogie. Doogie takes 6 points.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, nothing to do with our old history there at all. I'm going to give 5 to John. I'm going to give 4 to Ben, 3 to Liban.
Oh, it's not looking good, is it?
it's not good, bro.
We live with him, Ciaran, as well. It's just
Kieran's taking 2, Sonny's taking 1. However, what I'm going to say, you're not going to kick off just yet.
Okay.
We'll do that in the next round. We'll do that just in the next round. Because I think it's a bit tough on that one. But it does mean Doogie is currently leading going into our second round. Second round then, lads. The transfer window is still open as of yet. We're recording this on the 19th of August. So by the time this goes out, maybe a couple more deals have happened. But which transfer so far do you hate the most? Remember who you're saying?
I know. I don't care. I'm not here to be friends with you.
I'm not going to put that answer because I was. No,
Yeah.
Now, all my bias is taken away. I don't get paid by any club specific. All right, lads. Without further ado, show your boards. Which transfer do you hate the most? Pedro Neto, Drewsbury Hall, Kellyman.
What are you doing?
Only one that isn't Chelsea here.
Mental.
I think their biggest rival.
Pedro
One
Neto,
big
John. Go ahead.
Right, I'd like it to be known that I'm on 5 points, strong start, and I'm arguing Chelsea against Mr. Chelsea. So
Mr.
I'm not here
Chelsea.
to win any
Jason Cody's
points.
here.
Listen, you've got about 19 wingers at Chelsea. The treatment of Sterling being left out the squad because you're trying to get him off the books when you've gone and spent 60 million euros. Sorry, I'll stop saying you, he's not liking that. Chelsea have gone and spent 60 million euros. I just think, like, how many wingers, how many players do you need? We all know Chelsea's in an absolute mess. And I just don't see him being worth 60 million to Chelsea right now. I think it's a waste of money.
Yeah, I back all those points, and this is personal because
Yeah,
he was the
he
perfect winger
rejected
for
you.
Tottenham. Exactly. Why didn't they want Oliver Skip plus 40 million? I can't understand. I agree with John. Like, it's just there is an abundance of like he, arguably would be one of your better wingers, but spending that amount of money on someone that's probably going to play about 10, 15 games a season as well. He's always out injured. Are you going to see that impact? Does he suit the system? Obviously, Nkunku was playing out wide left yesterday, which I think is completely a waste of him. Maybe he'll move inside and Neto will play out wide, but I love him as a player, but I hate it for his career kind of more than anything.
Okay, man, you've got the same.
Same as well. Pretty much a lot of the points covered. I think he's a good. I have no issues with the player himself. I just think the club he's going to at the moment for me, it's disarray.
Yeah.
I think
Shambles.
you look at even the changing rooms. I've seen videos of changing rooms. People are changing on the floors. There's not even a lot of locker spaces. So I feel like with a team like Chelsea, where they got so many people that they need to offload first, having to bring in someone, spend that much money for a player that's kind of been injury prone over the last 3 years, to me, doesn't make sense. It seems like there's some sort of player trafficking happening at Chelsea. I don't know what's going on. Bringing in people, selling people off. So I don't know, because I don't know what Chelsea's future plans are. Are they actually a player? Is that a player that they're really investing in, or is that a player that they're just kind of having like a stopgap for somebody else next window? That's the thing with Chelsea. There's too much unpredictability going on. So that's why I put.
We've been here so many times before with other wingers of Chelsea, and also one of my main points about this as well is that I don't like how this affects the rest of Chelsea's business outgoings, because you've put a very high price tag on Madueke in terms of him going out the club. He was only brought in a couple of years ago. And how do you balance that squad in Europe as well? It's just like it puts a lot of pressure on what the players you've got to get out for the rest of the windows. Sterling, obviously that situation yesterday. Madueke is another one who I think you'll demand silly money for. So just the whole thing.
There's no guarantee. Like at Chelsea, there's no guarantee what their future's going to look like. You look at Mudryk, you look at Sterling, like you said, you look at all the wingers that they actually got on their books, and they're all good wingers in my opinion. I think they're all good wingers. It's just I don't know what the vision that Chelsea is. I don't know what direction they're going in. Is the manager going to stay? How is he going to utilise it? Will the next manager we have a feeling for Neto? We don't know. So that's why I think it's a bit sticky for that one.
Okay, Digi, you've gone Chelsea, but you haven't gone with Neto. Why Kellyman?
Well, I think Neto has a good potential of at least playing some games. Like any of these Chelsea wonder kids, and I say wonder kids because very few people have seen that much. It just feels like there's such a hoarding of young players there, and it's dangerous for the players. It's pretty dangerous for the game. I think it's pretty atrocious for the future of Chelsea's finances. I don't know how this doesn't end in financial disaster, because you've signed so many young players, and even these wonder kids are only 2 or 3 years younger than the players that are just above them. And they're all on these 8-year contracts in a market that they need to sell into, that you're running out of academy graduates to sell. It just feels like there's going to be an absolute financial bomb coming at Chelsea. And it could be any of these youngsters. Kellyman, it's not specific to him, but I just don't see him getting any game time. He wasn't included in the squad yesterday, along with the number of wonder kids you've signed over the last couple of years. It just feels like, as these guys say, just a complete and utter mess. And, a lot of these guys might end up at Strasbourg. Having been sold the dream of playing for Chelsea.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Trip to France, don't mind it. Before we go to yours, Keir, you've gone non-Chelsea.
Yeah.
So 6 points.
I want to say that the business that Chelsea have done has been fantastic. I think with Pedro Neto, Spurs were looking into him and I was a bit put off it because of his injury record, but I think there's less pressure on that compared with this. I think it's a big outlay, John. Don't shake your head at me. It's a big outlay on a person who's maybe expected to be your talisman after Mitrovic has left and Pelini's gone as well. I know you might be getting Scott McTominay, but 35 million for a guy who's injury prone, not really gone to that next level at Arsenal and just moved down the road to London just because it's easier. I'm not really sure on it because, as you say, 35 million is a big outlay and I can't see him hitting. What would you expect from him? 10 goals, 5 assists, maybe, for a really good season? Whereas Pedro Neto could probably coast through this season, score a few goals here and there, be a good option for Chelsea in Europe as well, build his fitness up, whereas he's going to be expected to play a lot of minutes for Fulham.
Well, I get what you're saying about the injuries. Like, that is a concern, obviously. But I think a player like Smith Rowe, if we can keep him fit, which is a big if, I don't know if you can't focus for me on that side of things. I didn't lead with Neto with his injuries. I know that was touched on, but I think...
And injuries can also play... the thing about Madueke when he joined Chelsea, always injury prone.
Yeah.
Now is actually okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
What is your argument more so? Why is Neto worse than, say, maybe his argument against
Neto? So Smith Rowe, for me, as a Fulham fan, is just exciting. It's a statement signing that I think you make with other players that we're looking at bringing in, and you go, if we keep him fit, there's not a world where I think Fulham go down in this current Premier League table, because I think he's going to come in, he's going to get 10 goals, he's going to get 5 to 10 assists with other good players around him. Neto, I just think, is surplus to requirements in the Chelsea team.
Yeah, but he could still come on and
there.
make an impact in like latter stages of games. And
But your argument
Chelsea got so
against
many
you-
options, whereas I feel like Emil Smith-Rowe has got to be that talisman for Fulham to actually
So there's
impact
more pressure on him, but he's got more opportunity, surely, to be the main man against Pedro.
Yeah, but I don't think he could step up to
But I also think
be a
Smith-Rowe-
consistent Premier League
Is that because
footballer.
you don't think he's good enough? Is that what you're saying? Is it because of
Well, I think the price tag is going to be heavy on him as well.
I don't think it will.
I don't
be.
think
Today's
that's
market,
I don't think that's
people don't care. I don't think.
I don't know, because I think like
you pay
it's-
£100 a ticket.
Yeah, we're fine.
that's Swimming Point going to fund itself on that.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. No, I don't know. I just don't back your argument against Neto. It doesn't match up for me, because you're saying he's going to be injured, but then Neto's got a worse injury record than him, so he's always injured.
I think, and with Emil Smith-Rowe, I think that there is a top player there. There's the reason why they spent that much money as well, because you're looking at the ceiling of the player, and him coming. I mean, he's good enough to still be playing for Arsenal. I just think that the project left him behind a little bit. So him going to a team like Fulham that kind of needs that little bit of spark, where with his ability, I think it's a perfect match. I think it's a perfect match.
I just feel like Pedro Neto could move on in a few years from Chelsea and no one would care, whereas Emil Smith-Rowe, it's like, what happens after this? If it goes well, does he get another big move? If it I'm not sure where his career goes, if it goes well or bad.
I don't think there's that
Trampolino
much.
just joined Bayern Munich. Wasn't bad.
I don't think there's actually that much pressure on Smith-Rowe, though, because I feel like there's this kind of goodwill feeling towards him that people want to see. That people want to see him get back to the level that he was at Arsenal. This is someone that got given the number 10 shirt at Arsenal, and he was worthy of that at that time. Obviously, the project, like I said, might have left him behind a little bit, but that's only really down to his injuries. But I just think that there's not going to be the pressure on him. There's going to be goodwill behind him, which I actually think is going to make him perform better than someone like a Neto, who will end up probably just being a commodity in this Chelsea team. Again, it kind of comes back to Doogie's point about the other young players. It's just stockpiling. And I just, like I said with Neto, and like Liban said as well, I don't hate the move in terms of the profile. I don't hate the player whatsoever. I just think for his own career, I think it could end up being a bit of a disaster.
Shrewsbury Hall. Over all of these.
Slightly aggressive.
I think that feels like a very Chelsea signing that they would do, like 6 years ago or whatever. This feels like you're the best example of buying yourself into being like an 8th to 10th place team.
Danny Drinkwater.
Gary Cahill
I
joined
just
from
think
from
that-
a relegated Bolton.
Yeah, but but you're drawing from a promoted Leicester, which just like sort of ran out of, like they didn't particularly enjoy Maresca at the end of it. It just feels like a manager buying just a player that did well for him in the Championship, but apart from that, he feels sort of like the perfect example of just the lowering of the standards at Chelsea. Whereas I feel like buying Neto, I feel like he fits and he would be like a sensible backup and a good backup to a Chelsea team before Roman left. Whereas this just feels like more of a Danny Drinkwater level Ross Barkley, like he's English, so we should get him in. And it just feels like he'll leave in about 3 years after having not played that much. And it just feels symptomatic of Chelsea's decline, really. Because usually you'd buy like a banger, and you don't do that anymore. Whereas I feel like he fits and could be a banger, whereas his ceiling is probably 6th.
Yeah, with Dewsbury Hall, it feels like Maresca's gone, I need an ally because I know I'm going to be under so much scrutiny.
A
so
disciple.
it's kind of like brought Dewsbury
It's
Hall.
more of a
in
guarantee,
bit.
like, he'll work.
Yeah. Yeah, you're still with me, right?
Dewsbury Hall though, he's the only midfielder I see in that team, because obviously you got the whole issue with Enzo and them not saying that he's not great or he's not good going forward. Dewsbury is good going forward, so I think he's the type of profile they kind of need going forward in terms of getting goals, creating goals.
I think he's fine, but I think it's sadly more of a Tottenham signing. But I don't even think Tottenham would probably have him
Minus
now.
points, please, for that.
I think if you were linked with Dewsbury Hall in the summer, you'd be like, it's all right.
And if we talk
Like,
about
it's not-
pressure on signings as well, if you're the English midfielder that's been brought in the same year or the same summer that Conor Gallagher, homegrown Chelsea guy, has left as well, I think there is more pressure on him as well. So I think that's not a bad check.
Okay. Let me add up the scores. Okay, so the scores on the doors. I'm going to be going for 6 points to Sonny Snelling.
Hey!
I actually thought I got up against everyone.
That is mental.
Up against everyone.
That is mental. I thought we voted.
No, this is not the weakest link. Oh. This is not the weakest link. You're up against everyone there, mate. You're up against everyone, and I thought you battered yourself pretty well. Ben, you got 5. 4 to Liban, 3 to Doogie, 2 to Ciaran, 1 to John, which means cumulatively, at the top of the leaderboard, we've got Ben sitting on 9 points. He is then followed by Sonny Snelling on 7 and Liban on 7 as
start
well.
early.
I don't think we're going to win this
Yeah, we're going to fall off.
John, you are currently on 6. I've also forgot Doogie's on 9, so he's joint top as well. He's joint top as well. Ciaran, I'm sorry it's happened again, but you're on 2 points and therefore
You're the weakest link.
kicked off the show.
It's fine. Is there a Sainsbury's in there? I'm starving.
Our next question then. Ciaran is gone, but obviously 5 still remain. The way this one's going to work, I'm going to give you 4 players and you're going to put them from 1 to 4, 1 being the best, 4 being the worst. And the question is, which of these players is likely to have the best campaign this season? Nicholas Jackson, Darwin Núñez, Richarlison, or Mason Mount? And it's more about individual, rather than say team success, it's more about individual success. Most goals, play the most, whatever it might be.
That is a very good question. See compliments occasionally just.
Yeah. Keep him sweet.
Okay. Without further ado, fellas, reveal your boards. Number 1, Darwin Núñez. Darwin Núñez is 3rd. Everyone's got Richarlison, well, low. All right, well, the biggest talking point, I think, is you're the only one with Nicholas Jackson at the top. You're the only one with Mason Mount at the top, but Liban's got Mason Mount at the bottom. Mace, why is he having a resurgence?
I think there's a great player in there from his Chelsea days. And I think that he was unlucky with injury. I think he was very unlucky in injury under Ten Hag. I don't think Ten Hag's going to last the season. And I think from watching that opening game against Fulham, there's a place for Mason Mount's pressing in that Man United team. His energy in midfield. Compared to the other names, it was tough between Jackson and Mason Mount, but for me, I'm shocked you've gone with him at the bottom as United. I think he's got a place in that team.
I think the problem is I think his best position is where Bruno plays,
Yeah, I agree.
in my opinion. And as long as Bruno's there, him being the captain as well, I don't see him starting ahead of Bruno. I do see there's a role for him this season because of the fact that we'll be playing Europa League Cup games. There might be opportunities for him to play, but I don't see him displacing Bruno anytime soon. And I don't see him being effective anywhere else on the pitch for Man United. I think initially we did try to last season play him in a pivot with Casemiro, it didn't work. He can play out wide, but I always feel like Mason is more effective when he's playing in that sort of 8/10 free role where he's allowed to kind of express, go forward, use his energy. And I just don't see that happening as long as Bruno. The only way I do see it happening is if, let's say, God forbid, Bruno gets like a season-ending injury, then maybe there's space for Mason. But I do genuinely believe that as good as Mason is, I do think he's a good player. I think Manchester United was just a bad fit for him. And I do see him leaving next summer.
Ooh, interesting there. Where have you got Mace?
I had him at 3. Mainly similar reasons to what Liban said, really. I think it looks like Man United are going to try and get another midfielder in as well. I think he falls further down the pecking order there because it feels like Kobe Mainoo's going to play most games. Manuel Ugarte's probably going to play most games if he comes in. Bruno as well. I mean, he can play on the wing, but I think Darwin is the clear obvious one to have at number 1, to be honest. He's playing in by far the best team. And yes, he might not be an out-and-out starter this year, but you could still easily see him picking up 10 to 15 goals in all competitions. If not, Nicholas Jackson is playing in a Chelsea side that are once again trying to find their feet. Mason Mount, bit part player, and Richarlison's just been replaced as their out-and-out starting number 9. So I think it has to be Darwin at top.
I think you can make cases for all of these being in any position. I know that's sitting on the fence a little bit, but I think there's kind of context with all of them, right? Because Jackson, Mount and Richarlison and Núñez have all got European football. I think Richarlison's an interesting one because I was contemplating putting Richarlison a little bit higher. I actually think Solanke coming in and taking the pressure off Richarlison and being in the Europa League and Ange saying to him, look, you can be my number 9 there. You can help us propel us to kind of lift that trophy in Bilbao in May. Play a really kind of...
Are you guys winning the Europa League in May?
Yeah.
Well, I've said it now.
I put my flyers for
But
it.
I think Richarlison showed last year that He showed two things. One, this team does actually need a focal point, which is why we've gone out and signed Solanke. But two, when he was in the team, we played a lot better. I think his hard work is something that is a non-negotiable in terms of a principle of Postecoglou, in terms of that pressing. He gives you that tenacity. It just hasn't quite clicked for him. And I think the only reason it didn't really work out for him last season was actually injuries. But I think with Mount, I think you made the point about the Europa League. I actually think giving a chance to give Bruno Fernandes a rest in those games, making sure he doesn't get a serious injury that's going to keep him out for a long time. Like you said, you are right. I think he does thrive further up the pitch. I think he was almost playing as a false nine kind of with Fernandes kind of rotating in there on Friday before Xerxes came on. I think his counter-pressing is really, really important to that United team. And I actually think being given a chance in Europe, I was thinking a few months ago, I completely forgot about Mason Mount. Mason Mount United. And I actually think that takes the pressure off him quite a lot, because I think people just saw him in the starting lineup on Friday and thought, oh yeah, he's still there. I know United spent a lot of money on him, but I actually think the pressure's off him a little bit, because United might come in and sign another midfielder that might play deeper. I think there'll be quite a lot of minutes for Mount this season. Jackson, I really like Nicholas Jackson. I think it's just he's missing that fundamental of being clinical in front of goal, which is obviously massive. You can't just ignore that. But in terms of those runs in behind, he's got Palmer and Nkunku if he wants to drift into those central spaces, kind of run in. It's just there's that almost like awkward clumsiness to his game that he needs to refine, but he's still so young. And I actually think that he's got a lot to prove at Chelsea. I think they're better off sticking with him and not signing Osimhen.
I was going to say, what happens if in a week's time Victor Osimhen's signed?
Then this does change. This does change. But I do think that if everything where it is now, I actually like Jackson in this Chelsea team. I think it was starting to click towards the end of last season. He is a massive handful. He just needs to stay on the side. In the pre-VAR era, he would have been fantastic. But I think that's something that with that kind of age and maybe that...
That's
very true, to be fair.
Life was perfect.
With that, he's still very young, he's still got a lot to prove. I actually think that the fundamentals that are missing from Jackson right now are all things that can actually be ironed out of his game. And I'm not sure I see that with Núñez. Although, again, like I said, I don't want to sit on the fence too much, but I do think these are all quite interchangeable. I just think with Núñez, when you look at Jota playing through the middle in that Liverpool side, I know they're going to have games, I know there's going to be a lot of different rotations, but I think that Jota is the man that you go with up front.
But he's not. He's so injury prone as well. Jota, you can't rely on him for a 38-game season. Núñez is still very raw, and I've criticised him for being so erratic. But I think in this Arne Slot team, you see it against like the chances they're going to create, and I feel, especially towards the end of the Klopp era as well, we saw it sort of like coming towards a slow end. Whereas Núñez in this team, it's going to be energetic, vibrant. And I can just see him getting quite a lot of goals. I feel like with Diaz and Gakpo as well, I'm not sure on their form. He can play on the wing as well, so he's got that option. Jackson as well, I just feel like Chelsea's front line's good, but at the moment it's all about Palmer. I feel like Jackson can get a lot of goals if he just, the thing is, when I talk about Jackson and Núñez, if I didn't say their name, it sounds like I'm talking about the same person. They're just very similar in their approach to just wasteful with chances. Mount, we've seen with United as well, like they've gone with like this false nine. Maybe Bruno's going there occasionally because of Xerxes not been back yet, and Højlund as well. So I just think, I agree, I don't think I've seen him playing a lot of games. And Richarlison, it's just that injury record as well. Injuries, I just think, your best ability is availability sometimes, and I think Núñez is going to get a lot of minutes, and I can just see, Salah's looking back to his sharpness as well. I can just see them linking up really nicely and getting quite a few goals in that front line.
But I think with Richarlison though, I actually think, I hear your point about the injuries, and again it was something I was saying as well, but I actually think Solanke coming in takes that pressure off him. Because I think Richarlison is someone that's obviously a very emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Yeah. And kind of, you can see when he strolls out onto the pitch, you can kind of, what Richarlison you're going to get. He's very, very emotional, and that's great because it kind of helps build that connection with the fan base, and that's what we saw last season. We all got behind him, and I think he obviously came in. When Spurs were first linked with Solanke a couple of weeks ago, he came out and said, "I'm staying. I want to stick around. I want to prove myself." And having that striker now to actually compete with, I'm not saying it's going to make Richarlison the best striker in the league and that he's actually going to displace Solanke in the first team, but in terms of just getting his career back to more of a stable kind of keel and actually playing an important, I'm not saying he's going to tear up the Premier League, but in terms of playing an important role for Tottenham, I actually think that means that Richarlison's going to have a better season than a lot of people think.
I agree as well, because last season obviously Harry Kane left, and obviously the pressure of
all
that's
the
such a big hole. Exactly, there was a lot of pressure on Richarlison. I think, like you said, because Solanke's come in now, I think there's a lot less pressure on him to basically get the goals now. You've brought in a number 9, so he can have a role where even if he's playing out wide, he doesn't necessarily have to get the goal as long as he's playing.
Coming off the bench as well, playing in Europe, Spurs are going to play a lot of games next year. I just think that there is still such a massive role in that squad for him.
I disagree with the Jackson thing though. As in because you've got Jackson and Núñez, what you said for Jackson is exactly why I have Núñez at the top. I think he just needs to iron. I'm the biggest Darwin Núñez hater ever. I'm his biggest hater. So, But I feel like if he does iron out his game, he could be a 30-goal striker.
I think, but he's not. Is he even a striker? I still think he's better as a winger. Benfica, he was more on the wing as well. I feel like if he's actually put on that wing position, maybe I don't know why Diaz keeps starting for Liverpool. I'm not sure about him. Whereas Jackson, that Chelsea team is so erratic and changes so much that I still think, his best game was against Spurs. Like, he was really good in that game and he put his chances away. So, when these players are on form and it's not too erratic, they're actually can have good.
But how many years are we going to say and I agree with the arguments of Darwin and Jackson being similar players, how many years are we going to say, like, if they could just get good at finishing, they're like 23, 24 years old, right? You know how to finish at that point. You either have it or you don't. I watched Jackson yesterday and I've got him high in this list just personally because I don't think Richarlison's up for it. I think Darwin and Jackson could be interchangeable there, but Jackson, the goal he should have scored against Man City, like he's half asleep. When Cole Palmer cuts in his left, he shoots. There's no excuse for that at top level of football. I don't think you can teach that. That's Cole Palmer's coming onto his strong foot. He's taking a shot. I should be on side and I should be there. Even when the ball comes back to him, he looks half asleep. So for me, that's where I look at Mason Mount and I think completely agree. The system is a big problem for him at United, but I think he's the best player here overall. I think he's the best footballer.
He's the most complete player.
And I know he plays a different position, so it's hard to rank him, but I think he's the higher level.
He's just disposable though. Manchester United have better options, whereas you look at maybe Liverpool and Chelsea, unless they sign like another striker, Chelsea, I just think Jackson is still their best striker. I mean, and Nkunku's a bit more versatile and they can play together.
But what is a good season for Jackson? 20 plus goals in the Prem, surely, at Chelsea. And he's not getting that.
He did get more than you think last year.
Yeah, that's a good season. That's a good.
He got 15 last year.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good. If he gets that again and Palmer's going to score and, if Nkunku, like that, it doesn't matter. Like, these players don't have to get 20 plus goals if the rest of the team are chipping around, whereas Liverpool will do that because of Salah. Chelsea can do that. Mount, it's sort of, at the moment, we don't know, is Bruno Fernandes? If it doesn't go through Bruno, are United scoring?
I agree with you though. Mason Mount is definitely the best player on that list, 100% by far. But for me, it's about will he get the opportunities? Because Jackson and Darwin will definitely get opportunities. I think Jackson, the reason why I have him in second is just because of the fact that he's a nuisance. Even if he's not getting the goals, he's always in the right places, making the right runs, and I feel like if it does click for him, it's a bit of a problem.
Okay. All right, lads. We're going to end it there on that one. I'm going to give out some scores for how things were debated there. The person taking home 6 points in that one is Liban. Well done, my friend. Well done.
Yeah.
5 points goes to Ben, 4 points to Sonny, 3 to Doogie, and 2 to Jonathan, which means the scoreboard is as follows. At the very top, Ben on 14 points. We then have Liban on 13 points, Doogie on 12, Sonny on 11, and Jonathan, I'm very sorry to say goodbye for now, on 8 points. See you later, Job. Thank you, mate.
Thank you. Thanks. I hope Sonny loses.
Okay, lads, then there were 4. If you make it through to the next round, you're in the final, guys. So you want to get your points on this one. Which club is going to overperform this season? Without further ado, reveal the boards. Liverpool, Brighton, West Ham, Brighton. 2 Brightons here. Doogie, why don't you start us off?
Well, I think this is partly against my own expectations. So I did my predictions on Twitter the other day, and I think I had Brighton 12th. And I think actually having a look at their starting 11 on the weekend against Everton, I know it's only one game, but the depth they've got in forward positions now is particularly impressive, I think. People have kind of just completely forgotten about Evan Ferguson. I know he was really poor last year, but he's not anywhere near that starting 11 right now. Adingra looks like he's taken a step forward. Danny Welbeck's still doing the business at 45. It's amazing how he just keeps on going and going. And I think I was worried about them because of the Pascal Gross departure as well. He's been so crucial to them over the last few years. Obviously, they didn't get the biggest fee for him. He's deep into his 30s, but Mats Wife had a really good, solid first game, I thought, as well. And Cairo Matoma back being fully fit as well. He was, absolute sensation in his first year in the Premier League, and just injuries ruined it last year. So I think they've got a deeper squad, and I didn't expect them to be very good this year. Under a manager who's, I think, narrowly younger than me, which is
31,
about 30,
isn't it? 31, isn't he?
Before you say 55, yeah. So I didn't expect them to be great, and I think they'll be top 8, top 9, which is better than what I thought.
Worth adding context here, Sonny's put them to get relegated.
That is mental.
It was his...
Get back over there.
Yeah.
James Milner will replace...
You've got West Ham, Sonny.
I feel like West Ham are now operating like a club who, I know they've been finishing in European spaces over the last couple of years, but they're actually acting like it in the transfer market. I think they've won the window to this date. I think, Wan-Bissaka, Kilman, Todibo, I just think Fulkrug as well. To go and get Fulkrug off Borussia Dortmund, I know he's old, I know it's a bit of a rogue fee, and Somerville as well, to go and get one of the best players in the Championship. I feel like it is going to take time to click. I feel like there are going to be moments where West Ham fans will get a bit disgruntled this season, but I think this is what makes West Ham not that fluky European team, a consistent European team, actually competing with the big six. And, maybe operating at a better level, like the Newcastles, like maybe a Brighton, are trying to operate, like actually spending wise money on good transfers. Beating Juventus to Todibo is impressive. I know that's put a lot in the eggs in the basket of all these signings hit the ground running, but I just feel like West Ham, it's all been like, they've got this ground, they've got this, but it's making sense now and the vision's sort of outlining. I don't know if the tactics are going to work straight away, but I can see Lopetegui 1 week, people going like, actually West Ham are a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, Liban, you've got Liverpool here, a side who normally battling for the title.
Yeah, so I put down Liverpool because I feel like
United fans as well.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. But I feel like with Liverpool, a lot of people are expecting them to fall off because of given the fact that Jurgen Klopp has left, and obviously history shown when Ferguson left, Moyes came in, and also Wenger left, Unai Emery came in, there was a drop-off in both teams. And so people are if history shows, is always the first manager that replaces a long-term manager tends to not do too well. And I think for that reason, and given the fact that they've done no business in the market so far, so a lot of people have the impression that Liverpool are not going to do as well this season, whereas I think they're actually going to be fighting for the league this season. I genuinely think they'll be there right to the end. I think last season they were hit by a lot of injuries. This year they got a lot of players coming back. They got Curtis Jones, Konate, obviously Luis Diaz coming back more fitter this season. So I do think, and also just seeing them in pre-season, seeing how warm the players are already to Ancelotti, to the manager, how they've already taken this approach. You can see that there is a bit of a new fire with them. I think some of them are playing with, a lot of the players are playing with a point to prove. The ones that didn't really do too well under Jurgen Klopp last season or had injuries, you can see that they're coming back with a point to prove it. So I think, given that they did do quite well last season, I think this season they could be there right to the very end.
A little surprise number. Ben, you've gone Brighton as well.
Yeah.
Especially compared to these other shouts. Why Brighton?
I just think they've got the perfect blend of that young manager and a group of players with not too much ego about them. They've got James Milner, they've got Danny Welbeck, they've kind of got those kind of older heads that are able to guide these young players in the right direction. They've got so much talent, and like Doogie said, the depth that they've got in forward positions, especially out wide. Again, Matoma is someone that I think people almost maybe just forgot about because of his injuries last season, but up until that point, he was still terrorising defences, even though maybe Brighton didn't have the same impact as a whole, as a team, that they did the season prior when they, before they let go of McAllister. They always rebuild strong. I was a bit worried about Brighton kind of going into this season in terms of, I wouldn't say I'd put them to go down, but I didn't think they were going to be quite as strong. But I think it just clicked straight away on Saturday. Again, Everton away, it's not the toughest fixture, but I think Everton have done decent business. I think, Sean Dyche is going to set them up to be difficult to beat. But they tore them apart. They absolutely tore them apart. They had a goal disallowed at the end as well. They played through them like a knife through butter. Vifer, I think, is a really good replacement for Gross, although, again, that was kind of a concern for me. Again, slightly different profile. Vifer's a little bit more defensive-minded. But yeah, I love the idea of kind of Welbeck leading the line with these young players around him. Adingra is someone who Spurs were linked with briefly, who I'm really excited about. Minter as well. It's just, and is it Barco, the young fullback as well? They've just got so much young talent. And I also think that when you look at, how old is the manager? 30, 31? It's like, I think a lot of people would look at that and thinking, has he got the kind of old adages of those cliche questions of like, has he got enough experience? Has he got this? Has he got that? You could see the connection with the fans was there clearly straight away on Saturday because he plays a positive brand of football and he's got all the perfect players to do it. And I think he's stamped his authority on it really, really quickly. And I just think it's a perfect blend of young stars with a few old heads that are just going to get them through really nice.
What is overperforming though?
I think they could challenge for Europe. I think they'll be better than West Ham. I think West Ham, obviously they've got no European football. They're kind of back to one game a week, right? And that was maybe one of the reasons why, I can't say it fell apart last year because it really didn't. But, it will make them, again, like players like João Pedro or someone I didn't even name, who I think is going to have that season where he will be linked with Arsenal next year. He will be linked with Newcastle maybe to replace Isak if he goes further down the line. He'll be linked with Tottenham, he'll be linked with Chelsea, those kind of clubs. He's that good. It's just another kind of bedding in season for someone like him. I think with West Ham's business, I hear it, but I also think we've been here before with West Ham. I think that people are looking at the Todibo. So Todibo is maybe the only outlier where I think, okay, they've beaten Juventus to a player that they were after. My thing with Todibo is that why hasn't anybody else gone in for him if he was still showing that promise at that age? I'm not so sure about it. But Todibo, maybe to counteract that, I think is one of the ones that will probably do quite well. But Somerville, I think if I'm coming at this from a Tottenham perspective, because I think a lot of Tottenham fans have been looking at West Ham going, I wish we had the window they had. I really don't. I really don't. I think it's a little bit scattergun. I think John Ciaran was the striker that scored against them on Saturday, was the one that they should have signed. I think they should have taken the gamble and tried to steer him in the right direction, because Nicholas Füllkrug, I think he'll become a bit of a cult hero and he could be a bit of a talisman for them. I think they probably should have steered clear. I don't know. I'm not as all in on West Ham's business as some other people are.
But I think as well, what we've got to take into consideration for West Ham is they've kept Kudus, they've kept Paqueta, they've kept Bowen.
That's true. I think it's more
Like,
about
Big squad, a lot of egos to manage.
I think Lopetegui can do it. I feel like when people criticise his Wolves team as well, I feel that's a bit harsh, and I feel like this is the perfect team for him at the right time. And I think he can manage these egos. I feel like, I know Paqueta's had his trouble with the betting and all this sort of thing, and Kudos, and like they could, don't get me wrong, they have a good campaign. They could all be off, sort of thing. With Liverpool could get a new winger as well to replace Salah. But I agree with, like, similar to your Brighton argument. I think West Ham have got a nice blend now. I think they're just finishing off the certain positions they needed, because you've got Emerson at left back. I think he's good. You're getting rid of the likes of Kufau, Souček, who are not really like that competent level, and a lot of them did start the weekend as well. I think it was a tough first game. Villa are a strong team as well. I mean, I was contemplating putting Villa for this as well. I think people saying Villa are going to drop off. I don't agree with that. But going back to West Ham, I just feel like this is their time now to get more consistent under a better manager. And it is going to take...
Do you think that if they don't necessarily have the best start, trying to bed in all these new players, 10 games could be iffy, I'm not saying it will be. Do you think people would be like, have we just signed the Spanish Moyes? The start, stylistically, he's not that different from Moyes to go to Lopetegui. And then for Liverpool, I think it's really difficult for them to overperform this year under a brand new manager. I think third would be a really, really good season for them. And I just think Arsenal and City are just ahead at the moment, and quite justifiably. So I think it's difficult for Liverpool to overperform. I can only see them going down. And West Ham feel like they've taken a few more risks than Brighton.
My only thing is I can't agree with the thing with these two teams. I expect these two teams to finish in the top half of the table. Where they, for me, overachieve is if they get into Europe. But both squads, I know they've done good business, but I look at both squads and I don't see them knocking off any of the teams that I would expect that are already there.
It is relative. It is relative to your opinions.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll end it there because we've also got one more round left. And the points on the door. Duke Critchley taking home 6, leading you to 18 points. Liban, you're taking home 5, taking home to 18 points. Ben, you've got 4, which puts you on 18 points.
What a thriller.
And Sonny Snelling taking home 3, which puts you on 14.
I stayed my welcome, I think.
It does
Justice for Jason.
I can see John cheering in there, yeah.
You can leave, Snelling. Thank you very much, mate. Perfect. Okay, boys, it's time for the final. All right, on to the final one then. You guys are all on the same point, so essentially whoever I think argues this best wins, lads. That's how it's going to work. The question is, which transfer will be the best this season? Let's keep it to the Premier League as well. A lot of deals been done, so who do you think will be the best? Just worth mentioning as well, lads, João Felix looks like he's about to join Chelsea, so could be in there for the best transfer if you want to change.
Late entry.
If you want to change. All right, show your boards. The final time. Let's see what we've got. Delict, Solanke, Savinho, who was Savio last season. Joined the Premier League, added a N and a H. Why don't we start off with Savinho?
I think yesterday he showed why he's going to play on both sides, so dynamic. They've got their Mahrez replacement now, I think, and they've got someone who looks that little bit more convincing in the final third than maybe Doku does. I love Doku, but I still think that's going to come in the next couple of years or so. If he can beat his man, but Savinho, I think, is so silky when he was on the ball. I think there's been more money spent in elsewhere. I think obviously there was question marks around the deal itself in terms of City buying from Girona, etc. If you look at it on a purely football basis, and the fact they only bought him for, what was it, around £30 million, it wasn't that much money. I think in terms of relation to...
From their own team.
Amount, yeah. So there is that, but it's like in terms of cost related to impact, I think he's going to be brilliant for City. I think, like I said, he can play on both sides. I think he's got that end product. He knows how to beat man, can come inside, go on the outside. And I just think he's going to take people by surprise in terms of how quickly he adapts to the league. And, you know, I think we need more kind of dribbly 1v1 wingers in the league, and I think he's going to be a welcome addition.
Yeah, until Pep ruins him. Delict.
Well, I really like Savio, but I just think he might be a little unfortunate if they don't sign a striker or someone who's a more natural number 9, and then he ends up being kind of blamed for the fact that they are a little short in certain areas. Like, I think Haaland has missed a lot of games over the last few years. The only year that he's really managed to stay fit was the year that he broke the Premier League goal-scoring record. But it is consistent injury problems for him, and they don't have a natural number 9. You know, Gundogan might be coming back. They could play De Bruyne, they could play Foden there, but I just think they've left themselves short in that area, and it's one of the reasons that I think Arsenal are the slight favourites to win the league for me. But for me, Delict, I think if Arsenal had done this move, if City had done this move for £35 million, I think people would be going nuts for it. I think people have really overlooked how good this player is. And yes, there was some issues last year where he wasn't necessarily first choice at always throughout the entire season, but he was also competing against Upamecano and Kim Min-jae. People are acting as if they're sort of pub players. These are two top centre-backs. Eric Dyer came in and made a big impact, but the chat that Eric Dyer replaced him in the team was not actually true. They actually played alongside each other for most of their appearances last year. And yes, would they have gone for him if Yoro hadn't got injured? Maybe not, but I think the fact that they have got a player of Delict's quality to replace Yoro and step in during this period, and I actually think it'll be difficult for Yoro to get into the side, because I do think Delict is going to have that sort of impact in the Premier League. I think people have really slept on this signing. I think the fee is really good. He's experienced, he's won a league in every country he's been in, Champions League semi-finals. I think it's a great signing for a great fee.
Okay. Solanke. Why is he better than these as well?
I put Solanke on the fact that I think last season Spurs did struggle with the fact that they had inconsistent strikers with Timo Werner, Richarlison. I think there was a lot of inconsistency with the performances of whoever it was the leading line, even with Son at times leading the line. So I think them bringing in Solanke off the back of a very good season, still young, still about 25, 26, still young, still about to hit his prime age. Good fee as well. I think it's a fair fee for what they paid for him as well, and I do expect him with the amount of chances Spurs create. I do see him having a very good season, and he could be the difference for them, really pushing into the Champions League. Whether even maybe pushing for maybe a title charge, we'll see, but definitely comfortably getting into top 4. I do see Solanke being that difference maker, because before this transfer, I didn't see Tottenham getting top 4. So then one season, now that he's coming, I do see them getting in top 4.
So he'll make a bigger difference than any of these other signings?
I think so, yeah. I think Delict, obviously Man United fan, I do think Delict is a very good signing. I just think this season, especially with how Harry Maguire's performed off the back of last season, and also the first game, I think he put in a man of the match performance. I think Delict is one for the future. I think we'll see him slowly get integrated into the team, but I don't think he will come in immediately and be a starter, especially with the way Harry Maguire's performing. But there'll be opportunities for him to come into the team and make his impact known. I think with Savinho, City won the league without him. Let's be real, they won the league without him. They've got Haaland up front. I think City needed a Gundogan replacement before they needed another winger, in my opinion. Because you've got Foden that can play out wide, you've got Bernardo that can play out wide, you still got Doku, you've got Grealish, you've got so many outlets out wide that I don't think this was a priority sign. I think Gundogan replacement would have been better. But the fact that Gundogan's going to be the Gundogan replacement, it's a bit funny. But
I hear that. I think they have got a lot of options out wide, but I think I think Doku and Savinho, and I spoke about how frustrating Doku can be at times, I think those are the only two of those wingers, because I do prefer Foden centrally, and naturally when he does play off the right, he kind of drifts inside a lot more anyway. I do think Savinho is the one that can change a game out of nothing, and I'm not sure Grealish can do that anymore, and I think he can, but that's not his role. I hear you on the midfield thing. I do think though, when you look at how Kovacic played yesterday and look at how Bernardo played yesterday in that deeper role, Bernardo is so tenacious in the way he gets across the pitch. He could probably play anywhere in the whole team. So I think Gundogan was a big loss, but again, like you said about Savinho, they still won the title without Gundogan, and they won the title without Savinho. But I just think in terms of, and it's why I like the Delict shout as well, because I think it's just like cost, or it's like cost related to impact. Because I would probably say in terms of Solanke's right up there as well, and obviously a Spurs fan, I think he's going to hit the ground running. I think he's the perfect striker for the system, and I think that's why some people have balked at the fee a little bit. I don't really have too much interest in that because Spurs have obviously kind of gone down the route of signing a lot of young players with a lot of potential. But a striker is that position where you can't really scrimp on. And I'm not saying Spurs have done that with some of the other younger business. You find these gems and naturally you pay lower fees for them. But a striker is what you can't do that there. And Spurs have needed that, like you said, someone who's going to. And I think the big thing for Solanke, and I really hope I don't go for this the kiss of death ahead of the first game of the season tonight. But he didn't get injured at all for Bournemouth last year. And obviously, I mentioned that. Okay, I'll take that back. I'd say with Richarlison, that was the problem last year. Obviously, Son not massively suited playing through the middle against all of the teams. But I just think in terms of cost related to impact, I think Savinho is going to have a much bigger impact than people think.
Okay. All right then. I've made my decision, fellas. Everyone has battled very well today so far on the top 6 show. But our winner, and it's not nepotism, is Dee Critchley.
Well done, everyone.
Well done, Dee-Star. Well done, Dee-Star. Well, there we have it. Guys, thank you so much for all coming onto the show. Everyone's links will be in the description below. So make sure you check them out. And we'll also have another episode of this going out next week as well. So keep your eyes peeled. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye.